You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. We'll have more news this evening, but first...
The latest Geneology, a Roddenberry podcast.
Episode 81, Bullet Wound. Welcome to Mission Log Genealogy. I'm Ashley Thomas.
And I'm Earl Green. Here at Genealogy, we dish out one prescription and one prescription only. Take at least one script or show from the early days of Gene Roddenberry's TV writing career and call us in the morning.
Side effects may include discovering whether or not Gene was sneaking into his early work the same kinds of morals, meanings, and messages that could be found in his most famous later creation, Star Trek.
We're once again rewinding to cover some of Gene's earliest material that we had to skip over in the podcast for lack of availability. So today, you'll be seeing Dr. Christian.
Before we get to trivia on this week's episode, let me take a brief moment to encourage you to join our Patreon or follow us on YouTube or leave a review wherever you're listening to us, or you know what, just go for it. Do all of the above. Patreon is your gateway to all things Mission Log, including exclusive access to the unedited version of our show, aka the VAM, and our private Discord, where you can interact with us, your hosts, Earl and me, but also the hosts of other Roddenberry shows, during our scheduled live chats, along with occasional screenings. You can access all of this for just $1 a month. So please head over to patreon.com/missionlog and see what tier works for you and join the conversation. Think of it as your copay. By the way, folks, reviews really do help our shows way more than you could possibly know. Even if you can't come up with the words for a written review, one of those 5-star ratings really does go a long way to tell the algorithm that you think we're the cure for your classic TV podcast ills, and you think other folks could use a good dose of us too. We're counting on our loyal genealogists to help spread the word. And now, this week's double dose of trivia. Earl, what kind of prescription have you written for us for trivia this week?
Oh, we have quite a dose of trivia, so everyone open up and say, ah. Welcome back to the wonderful world of Ziv television. We are taking a look at material we had to skip earlier. In this case, we had neither the script nor the show. But here's the cool thing. If you contact the Wisconsin Center for Film and Theater Research at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, you can make arrangements to view material from their vast archive of Ziv's productions. So that's what we did, closing this gap in Genealogy's coverage of Gene Roddenberry's early TV writing career. I will say this, the picture and sound quality on this was kind of amazing because they just went back and rescanned the original film. So these Ziv films are obviously vaulted with care at UW-Madison, and that is something to be grateful for. They are doing some amazing work there. Dr. Christian is a typical Ziv show. Shoot it fast and cheap, nothing terribly fancy in the camera work, and very much like Mr. District Attorney and I Led 3 Lives before it, based on existing IP. Now, wait, you thought that was something that just happens now? Oh no. There were at least 3 movies in the 1940s featuring the character of Dr. Paul Christian, but not so fast. The TV show centers on his son, Dr. Mark Christian, obviously also a doctor, played by MacDonald Carey. MacDonald was a very busy movie actor himself in the 1940s, though largely in what were considered B-movies. TV beckoned in the 50s and gradually became the main focus of his career. Aside from the single season of 40 episodes of Dr. Christian, MacDonald is best remembered today for playing another doctor, Dr. Tom Horton, on Days of Our Lives, a role he played for 30 years and over 3,000 episodes from 1965 through 1994. He was also the opening voiceover of that show, which was a role that actually outlived him. After he died in 1994, MacDonald's voice stayed on the show's intro. Like sand through our underpants, these are the days of our lives. Oh, wait, that's Hourglass. Sorry. Other TV appearances run the gamut of TV history. Science fiction theater, Rawhide, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Outer Limits, Roots, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, Fantasy Island, Murder, She Wrote, and many more. Now, MacDonald Carey's name is the only one that appears in the opening credits, but if there is one other performer who could even remotely be considered a regular on this show, it would be Jan Shepard, who played Nurse Betty in 6 episodes. Jan got her start in TV, and while she did make some film appearances in the likes of King Creole and Attack of the Giant Leeches, she was mostly to be found on the small screen, and she was a mainstay on the series produced by Ziv Television. In addition to Dr. Christian, she also appeared in science fiction theater, Highway Patrol, Tombstone Territory, Bat Masterson, and King of Diamonds. After a 1973 guest starring turn on The Rookies, her IMDb record comes to an end. We lost Jan Shepard earlier this year in 2025. The primary guest stars in this episode are playing the fabulous Baker Boys, the trio of brothers who have apparently committed a crime that remains slightly hazy in the episode's dialogue, but whatever it was bad enough to end in Quinn having a bullet wound. Bush Baker, the most conscientious of the brothers, and apparently a field medic in the Korean War, is played by Jack Hogan. This was an early role on Jack's career, as he later became much better known for being one of the main cast members of the series Combat. Jack was another Ziv Television regular at this point in his career, and this was one of 4 guest roles he played on Dr. Christian alone, each time as a different character. He also appeared in Harbor Command, Men of Annapolis, Tombstone Territory, Bat Masterson, Men into Space, and Sea Hunt, where he played a character named Billy Riker. Other TV guest shots included Have Gun Will Travel, The Name of the Game, Marcus Welby MD, and, through no fault of his own, the absolutely terrible 1974 TV movie Houston, We've Got a Problem, Hollywood's earliest and lousiest attempt to dramatize the Apollo 13 mission. Really do not recommend. In the 80s, Jack started a parallel career as casting director on Magnum P.I., though he remained active as an actor in his own right through the early 90s. We lost Jack Hogan in 2023. As the edgy, more violent Baker brother Perry, we have Stephen Rich, dividing his time between movie and TV roles. Stephen was another regular on the Ziv lot, showing up in science fiction theater, I Led 3 Lives, Highway Patrol, and Sea Hunt, but this was his only Dr. Christian appearance. Roles followed in The Rifleman, Wagon Train, and he would work with MacDonald Carey again in the series Lockup. All this time, Stephen also maintained a parallel career as a writer, selling scripts to 77 Sunset Strip, Shannon, Wagon Train, and quite a few others, as well as some feature film screenplays. We lost Stephen in 1995. Finally, as the mighty Quinn, and I say mighty because the guy is wide awake while they're operating on him in this episode, there is John Sorrentino. In some ways, John had an easy gig here because he's laying down for the whole show. John's movie and TV resume is short and again heavy on work for Ziv Television. He would appear again in Dr. Christian, playing a different character just 9 episodes later, as well as Harbor Command. He also played guest roles on Death Valley Days and The Burns and Allen Show, all of this TV work occurring in the 50s. After a long gap and a single credited movie role as a janitor in 1979's Scavenger Hunt, there is no further information on Jack Sorrentino's life or career. There's conflicting information on where this episode falls in the series, and the show itself carries a 1956 copyright date, but according to various sources, this is either episode 15 or episode 17 of Dr. Christian, airing on January 14th, 1957. Chronologically, that's between the West Point episodes A Double Reverse and Jet Flight, well before any of Gene's work on Have Gun Will Travel or his contract with Screen Gems, so we are back in the very busy and very hungry early days of his career. This is after his retirement from the LAPD, though, so as the end credits roll, the screenplay is credited to Gene Roddenberry rather than Robert Wesley.
This man needs hospital surgery. Probably damage to some internal organs in the intestinal tracts. Peritonitis probably building up fast.
You've got to operate here.
I don't have the surgical instruments.
Maybe you don't understand, fella.
You stupid little punk. Get it through your head there's a time to be rough and a time not.
Never talk to me like that.
Shut up. I've had enough of your lousy temper today. If it weren't for you, we'd have $5,000 and Quinn wouldn't be lying there with a bullet in him.
He's my brother, too.
Then forget how tough you are and start worrying about him. Doctor, let's understand each other. I'm not a real tough boy, but I'll kill you if you run out on Quinn here, even if you try it again.
Then understand me. I want an ambulance for that man. You say he's your brother.
That doesn't change anything.
It should. If you want him to live, get him to the closest hospital.
He's gonna live anyway. You're gonna take that bullet out of him, and you're gonna do it right here.
We're together on that. Either you fix him or I'll let Perry here have his way.
Yeah, I might operate on you. Be kind of funny. You'd show me how to cut.
You need treatment as badly as your brother.
General practitioner Dr. Mark Christian, son of the famous Dr. Paul Christian, navigates the day-to-day drama that happens where his own medical practice and the lives of his patients meet. Prologue. Dr. Christian is walking to his office on a bright morning. Two men with nefarious intent begin to approach him when an older gentleman asks the doctor if he's late for his appointment. He's not, and they walk into the office. The other two men hang back and decide that the best way to take the doc isn't by force. They should lure him out with an emergency call. Act 1. Dr. Christian tells his older patient, Charlie, that the only cure for his lack of pep is his lifestyle. Poor diet, lack of exercise, too much stress, no relaxation, etc. He prescribes diet, exercise, and a follow-up in 3 months. And no miracle drug can be prescribed for that. Just do what he says. Just then, Dr. Christian receives an emergency phone call. 144 Cody Street to a Robert Jones. Severe pains in the abdomen, and that's all he's got. He's off, but not before Nurse Betty follows up with something he's asked her to do. Step on the scale, Doc. Well, that's not the number he's looking for, but the doc assures her that an extra 25 pounds on him adds dignity. Now, he's got to get to that emergency call. Doc pulls up to the address given, a vacant lot, and is approached by the two men who offer to help with directions. And by that, they mean, you've got a gun in your back, Doc. You'll be coming with us. The men escort Doc to a house where he finds another man lying on a couch with a bullet wound to the stomach. Their brother, Quinn. He was shot an hour and 20 minutes ago. Doc says to call for an ambulance, but the men refuse, telling the doc that he's got to operate. Doc protests, saying that he doesn't even have the basics to perform the operation, lighting, sanitary instruments, etc. He examines the man and determines that the bullet has gone further down into the abdomen. The man's in pain, but he can't give him more painkillers until he's determined what's been injured internally, as suppressing heart or lung function could be fatal. He needs hospital surgery. The man's brothers, Bush and Perry, protest, saying that the doc needs to operate here and now. They're not going to the hospital. They draw their guns on Dr. Christian. The doc either fixes him here, or Perry's going to let the doctor have it. You can teach me how to operate, says Perry. That's funny. Maybe you can even teach me how to cut. You need treatment as badly as your brother, says Dr. Christian. Doc tries to explain to Quinn on the couch that he simply doesn't have the equipment necessary to perform the surgery. Quinn says they didn't just grab the first doctor they saw on the street. Doc Christian is something special. He volunteers his brother Bush to help. Bush says that he served in the medical corps in Korea. Well, then Bush, you ought to know better. This is just too risky. But Bush won't hear of it either. His brother wants the surgery performed here, and that's how he's going to do it. Doc says that if he's going to do it, he needs tools. Bush and Perry take him to get said tools, but Bush warns him, if he pulls any funny business, they're going to have to find another doctor. Back at Dr. Christian's office, Doc starts to grab the necessary equipment when Nurse Betty walks in, asking if anything's wrong. The men take a solemn look at each other, and the doc says no, he just needs his second bag and some more equipment. He needs 150 milligrams of procaine, but they don't have much of that on hand. He's going to have to stop at the pharmacy. Nurse Betty says that Mrs. Hopkins called, her mother still complaining. Doctor will write her a prescription. He's late for his 1 o'clock with the Chilton boy, but that'll have to wait until tonight. Cancel all the office calls. Send the serious ones to Dr. Belay. He starts to write the prescription for Mrs. Hopkins, but Bush suggests that he drop it off at the pharmacy himself. Nurse Betty wants to know the number where he can be reached, but the doc says there's not one, and it's just as well. He doesn't want to be interrupted. And with that, the men leave. As they make their way outside, Perry suggests that they go back for the nurse. Doc may have gotten a message to her. Doc insists that they're wasting time. Bush agrees, and besides, there's no way they'll find the house anyway. Perry says that if the doc is lying, so help him. Back in the office, Nurse Betty phones the police. Act 2. Lieutenant Sutter of the police thinks they know who may have taken the doc, the Baker brothers. Betty informs the police that they may be heading to the Gage Pharmacy, picking up the Procaine. The officer sends a unit to the pharmacy with orders to follow them. The police tail the Baker brothers, and they catch on, keeping Doc Christian on the floor of the car. The unmarked police car stops, and the Bakers think they've lost them. But the police have radioed for another car, and they're still in pursuit. They've got the address, and Lieutenant Sutter is on the way. Back at the house, Quinn is on the table, and Doc and Bush are preparing to operate. Doc tells Perry to step back out of the way, but he says no, keeping a gun on the Doc at all times. Doc informs Quinn that he'll be awake for the operation. He'll be able to talk, but he shouldn't feel anything. Very important, though, he must keep his arms still. The odds are against him given the circumstances, but if he's able to work quickly and Bush keeps a steady hand, he might live. Talk about your bedside manner. Meanwhile, the police have arrived and are staking out the joint. Inside, Doc and Bush are performing surgery, a few hands short. Quinn asks if there's trouble, and Doc says there is, but they're doing all right. Bush, hold that small blood vessel there. The police are still lurking outside, and Perry's getting impatient. It's been 40 minutes already. Can't he just stitch him up? Quinn notes the surreal nature of being awake while his insides are open and Doc is digging around in there. But he knows he's doing the best he can. Quinn notes that he and Perry have always talked too big, but Bush is different. Quinn begins struggling to breathe, and the Doc shouts to Perry to elevate the table to allow Quinn some more breathing room. Bush places some books beneath the table legs to keep it elevated. They've got to work quickly now, or Quinn won't survive the operation. Perry notices the cops outside and calls for Bush, but Doc informs him that if he lets go, his brother will die. Perry won't hear of it. They've got to make a break for it. Quinn begs Perry, please. Fine. They'll leave the Doc with Quinn, and he and Bush can make a break for it. But Bush refuses. Perry turns his gun on Bush. He's not going to jail, and neither is Bush. Bush shouts down his older brother. You don't understand. If I go, Quinn's going to die. I'm staying. Perry puts on his jacket and steps outside, making a run for it. He checks the perimeter of the house, but the police are gone. Back inside, Bush and Doc are finishing their work, and Bush is putting the finishing touches on the surgery. Bush thanks the Doc, but it's not just for his brother's life. He thanks him for the reminder that people can be decent. Perry enters the house again, claiming a case of nerves. Bush tells Perry that he's going to drop the doctor right back from where they took him, and if he so much as touches him, he'll be waiting for him when he gets back. Perry does as he's told and drops off the Doc at his car. Lieutenant Sutter is dropped off by an unmarked police car, telling the Doc that they've got Bush in custody. Quinn is heading for the jail hospital, and they've got cars in pursuit of Perry. Sutter explains that they couldn't descend upon them mid-surgery, not sure what Bush would do, and besides, he's read a bit about the Hippocratic Oath. The patient comes first. The Doc and Sutter take a ride back to his office. Back at the office, the Doc receives a phone call from the jail hospital. Quinn is recovering nicely. Sutter comments that he'll call Doc Christian should he ever stop a bullet. Doc advises that he sticks to a regular surgeon. He then asks about Bush. Sutter says that he'll get 3 or 4 years if he's lucky. Doc Christian says to let him know that he should contact him when he gets out. He'll put in a good word for him at the county hospital. He'd have made a good doctor. Sutter promises to tell him, and that will help. Sutter leaves, and Doc Christian steps back on the scale as Nurse Betty enters. She observes that the scale must be off. There's no way someone can lose 6 pounds in an afternoon. Doc assures her that, oh yes, indeed they can. He thanks her for calling the police. It's back to business for the doctor. He's got Mrs. Houston waiting with a cold. Send her in. The end.
Well done, Ashley. I feel like that recap is just what the doctor ordered.
Oh, thank you. I hope our listeners had a fever and the only prescription was more recap.
It's either that or more cowbell.
as you do.
But as House taught us, it's never lupus.
No.
I was kind of worried going into this that most of my observations were going to be reflections on how absolutely nothing in this show reflects any experience I have ever had with any doctor or with any part of the American healthcare system.
Right?
I mean, the opening scene, they're about to jump him, and it's just like, oh, Doc, I need you to look at me right now. Let's go. And he's able to get that, and that rando was able to get looked at that moment? What?
He did say, he asked him, am I late for my appointment? And he's like, nah, you're right on the button. But even then, you don't often catch your doc in the parking lot.
Yeah.
With the wonders of telehealth, I found sometimes if I message my doctor about something, I will get a response from her at 5:30 in the morning because she's already up and at the office doing things. So I'm like, yeah. And the office isn't even open until 8 o'clock, maybe 7:30.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long day.
Now, about that patient, he asked Dr. Christian, what do you think I should take? I fully expected Dr. Christian to say, a hike, bud.
He's like, well, I can prescribe you some sugar pills. I'm like, oh.
Oh, sassy doctor.
Sassy.
Part of me was kind of scowling at that scene because, okay, here we go, making fun of the fat guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then Nurse Betty comes in and weighs Dr. Christian himself, and he's 5 pounds over. So it's like, all right, show, I'll let you off.
Oh, I thought he said 25.
Oh, is it 25?
I thought it was 25. There are no captions on this, unfortunately. But
yeah.
But I thought it said 25. He's like, it adds dignity. And I'm like, I will be filing that one away for personal use.
If that's the case, then holy crap, am I dignified?
I am extremely dignified too, bro.
Very dignified. I'm so dignified, I can't even dignify that with a response.
Well, it's okay, Earl. I will dignify it and say I too am dignified. So there we go.
Now, Nurse Betty, could we cultivate a sense of urgency here? Because maybe while the doctor has just received an emergency call is not the time to weigh him?
I thought of that too, but, if it was a real emergency, did 911 exist at this point?
Oh, no.
I wouldn't think so, but if it had been a real emergency, you would think we're going to call the hospital directly,
Yeah, and that should have been a bit of a tip-off.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about tip-offs later because I think there may have been one, but I really had to do some research to figure out what the tip-off was.
Mm.
As far as the brothers go, got a whole show full of doughy white guys wearing suits and ties. The one guy in the leather jacket is up to no good.
Yeah. Leather jacket equals shenanigans.
And also these guys, their plan is terrible.
It does not seem very well thought out.
And I get it's a desperate situation,
sure.
But it's like, okay, we kidnapped you to fix a bullet wound. And if you don't do that, we're going to give you your very own custom-made bullet wound.
Right.
And so, wait, that means we wind up with 2 guys with bullet wounds and no solutions, and an excellent opportunity to face more charges for committing violent crimes. The one guy says, if you try anything, we'll just have to get another doctor. It's like, this is not a good plan. It's like, if you like your doctor, you could kill your doctor.
Right. Yeah. It's not jiving. It's not working.
Yeah, 911 did not exist, to your point. Nurse Betty calling the operator to get her the police. Do you not know the number? but I guess that's the 57 version of 911. You know, it's like calling information. 411, please give me the number for 911. It's an emergency. I was mildly disappointed that Nurse Betty didn't call the highway patrol. I mean, come on.
It's right there.
You had your own crossover-filled Zivomatic universe going on here in the mid-50s, and they missed it.
Was Highway Patrol on at the same time as Dr. Christian?
Oh, yes, it still was.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, why not call the Highway Patrol?
Broad Crawford's just right across the lot. I mean... Okay, so we were talking about, one of the notes that I wrote down in real time was maybe Dr. Christian should work on some kind of nonverbal code with Nurse Betty.
Maybe.
In case something kind of sus is going on, but here's another song. Sing along with me.
Okay.
Procaine is a hell of a drug. Because... it is absolutely no use for this kind of procedure, because most of us know Procaine by another name, Novocaine. It's a synthetic dental anesthetic, first used in 1905.
Oh.
But it's no use as a general anesthetic.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, I was thinking.
Yeah.
I at first, let's be honest, I thought he said cocaine. I'm like. Oh,
what? It's Procaine. It's professional cocaine. It's cocaine in a suit and tie.
Riding that train, high on Procaine.
Yeah. So either we thought Quinn took a bullet wound to his teeth, or this was the code to tip off Nurse Betty that something is off, because dude's not a dentist.
Mm.
So I really wonder if, okay, either this was a mistake in terms of medical jargon, or is this the code? You know, hey, Nurse Betty, these guys are kidnapping me. Little help here.
Yeah, that was that was smart. And then even to the point, Bush asks Procaine, and he's like, yeah, it's spinal numbing agent. So, which he does use, but it's not the Procaine.
In my research, I did not turn up any use of Procaine as a spinal block.
Yeah, so I think your theory that, hey, this was secret code for this is the word I'm going to say when you need to call the police. In our house, if I ever call Mr. Nerdy Blogger and say, honey, we need to buy more notebooks, he needs to call the police because I've been kidnapped.
It's, oh no.
Yeah.
It's only 1957 and Dr. Christian has a safe word.
Oh, no.
Can we have some real guy who used to work in a hospital talk here?
Yeah, please.
And, I wasn't even at the level of an orderly. I was a lowly IT contractor. But I still had to foam in and foam out of basically every space I was going to inhabit in this building.
Mm.
In some areas, you got to mask up. In other areas, you can't get in there with anything less than a bunny suit.
Mm.
If you work in that environment in any capacity, you have to observe all this stuff rigorously. And look, okay, I know this was a show from nearly 70 years ago, but they are about to operate on a guy who's basically still awake.
Yeah,
And at best, he's slightly buzzed on a dental anesthetic while they remove a slug from his gut. We wait until the last minute to put on gloves. Now, I did appreciate when Bush put the books under the couch or table or whatever they're using as an operating service. Change your gloves.
Yes,
it was like, okay, thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
I did catch that. I had just assumed, because I didn't Google the Procaine, so but I am operating on the assumption that he had whatever anesthetic he actually needed. I know a guy who had to have surgery for he had like a ingrown toenail or something that was bad and actually needed to be operated on. And he was awake for that, just like kind of just numbed the foot area. I've heard of that, but I would have to imagine if he's digging around in your guts trying to find a bullet and stitch up whatever might have been injured. Yeah, you might want a little more anesthesia than that. Than like what is effectively an epidural.
Yeah, and there's no sterilization measures. It's not a sterile environment. I mean, so much stuff just set me off here. Okay, like they're sweating profusely.
Yeah.
Gravity gets a hold of that. That sweat's going to go somewhere. Oh, we got this guy open. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
If HIPAA was around back then, they would probably be flagrantly violating that too. And I just couldn't help thinking this guy is not going to make it.
You get that the brother, worked as a medic in a field medic situation. That's bad stuff. Like you're dealing with that in like the worst of circumstances that are probably not as sanitary as you could, as you would like, because you're having to patch up guys on the fly, But there was lack of professionalism in other professions as well. Oh.
That cop peeking up through the window, that was just comic. Dude, take off your hat.
Yeah. Snazzy hats are great. Not for covert ops.
They are going to spot that a full 15 seconds before they see your head. And by the time, you're lucky if Perry doesn't have a bead drawn on you. He's just waiting for the hat to clear up and your head show up.
Mm-hmm. That head ain't floating around on nobody.
Yeah, so obviously not a graduate of the police academy that we saw in Mr. District Attorney.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait a minute, are we trying to make this funny?
I think this is one of those situations where you're like, just roll with it.
Yeah.
We have not consulted professionals on this.
Yeah, and I have thoughts on that later, too.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the show, I kind of got a chuckle. McDonald Carey breaks character. He's out of character, addressing the audience directly. There is no fourth wall here. He's telling folks to tune in next week because Dr. Christian is going to encounter people we all know. Really? Wait, did you say you're from Earth? Do you know a guy named Bob?
Yeah, I wondered about that. I'm curious. Are we having a crossover? Or are we getting all these same characters again next week?
If they didn't cross over with Highway Patrol this week, then I don't think Ziv did crossovers.
Possibly not.
I think we're just saying that the storylines of this show are so slice of life. Oh, well, we've all met this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when they were making Mr. District Attorney, they were retaining Gene's services as an advisor on police procedure. Was it out of their price range to retain a medical advisor for this stuff?
Maybe so. I don't know.
Of course, Ziv was notoriously cheap, so that is entirely possible. I may have just answered my own question.
Right. That may have been a thing. I did like Nurse Betty. I want to say that. I like that she is smart and sassy. Like, she's not dumb. Or at least
I quickly picked her out as the smartest person on this show.
I'd say, yeah. But I'm curious if that is always the case, or if this is just because Gene wrote her.
So, Ashley.
Earl.
Welcome to the wonderful world of Ziv television. It's so simple, isn't it?
It was oddly, relaxing watching this, even though, the doctor is under gunpoint for pretty much, 2/3 of the episode.
Yeah, the thing is, there's really not much of an ethical dilemma.
Right.
They name-check the Hippocratic Oath at the end of the episode when he is talking to the policeman.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Christian's going to uphold that oath. Yeah. There is no complexity. There is no nuance. I mean, come on. The man's surname is Christian, and he has the given name of a sainted apostle.
Yeah.
It would have been an absolute shock for this to play out in any other way.
That definitely occurred to me while watching.
But our world has changed a lot.
Mm.
since the last time I was watching Ziv TV shows. Back in the days of Norman and I reading the Mr. District Attorney scripts and watching Highway Patrol in West Point. Now, returning to this very simple Ziv TV worldview now, even with just 2 years distance from watching this stuff, it really hits me harder just how doughy, middle class, and white these shows are.
Yeah.
The antagonists are not at all far removed from the protagonist. The assumption seems to be, of course, he is going to help them. He's a stand-up guy. He even says he will help place Bush in a hospital job after he gets out of jail. But even that stands out starkly as kind of a very classist statement because, I don't know, maybe file an amicus brief with the court on Bush's behalf before sentencing?
Yeah.
Rather than mention this to the cop after sentencing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But, that's the middle-class white guy world these shows happen in. There is no room for nuance. You took part in a crime, you've got to do your time. Fortunately for Dr. Christian, the only woman in this story is the smartest character in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would it have been more challenging or more problematic if the the Baker brothers, were not fellow doughy middle-class white guys? Or would casting a show like that just have done more harm than good and verified widely held prejudices for 1957? What do you think?
That's a good question. I kind of am leaning that may have lent itself towards prejudice.
Yeah.
I do appreciate here, one of the things I thought was interesting is that Dr. Christian seems to acknowledge that maybe if Bush had been in different circumstances, that he could have been a good doctor. And he has that potential, considering his field service in the military as a in the medical corps.
I think where Bush really passes that test, however, is that he is not going to bail out on his patient just because the cops are surrounding the house in their, whack-a-mole kind of way with their snazzy hats on their heads.
Right. There's that, and then there's also, it's like, hey, this is my brother on the table, and the other brother's trying to get him to bail out, and he's like, no, let the doc handle it, and Dr. Christian reminds him, if you take your hands away, your brother will die. They're already doing this surgery half-cocked. Because didn't he say he needed 6 hands to really be able to do this properly? And they got 4?
Yeah, so they are already making do with substandard conditions. Like I said before, this is not a sterilized environment. Right. Which definitely set off the former hospital employee in me.
Yeah.
But they don't have, even the gear and the procaine that he does have, it's not enough. And so, with the procaine, I don't necessarily think that Dr. Christian is trying to sabotage things to buy time, because I have seen that plot play out on much later eras of TV.
Sure.
Where you have a doctor having to do something like this under very trying and adverse conditions, and they're just dragging it out. Hoping that help will get there. I have seen that play out before, but that was not going to happen in this show, in this era of television. It was just so simple. The good guy's going to be good. There is no gray. I did find it encouraging that there was some hint of, maybe there is some forgiveness for Bush after this.
Yeah.
I still think maybe starting to offer him some grace before he stood in front of a judge would have been good, but we're just upholding the doughy middle-class white guy system at that point.
Yeah, and I think there's some acknowledgement within the script. Quinn, on the operating table says that, he and Perry, talk too big, but Bush was different. And so he felt like we pressured our little brother into being something that maybe he's not.
Yeah.
And so, again, there's this, is he more of a victim of circumstance? Is he one of these veterans who came back and
found nothing waiting
for him, struggled to re-enter society?
There's a lot of interesting things that could have been done with the psychology going on between these brothers. And it doesn't. I know part of that is because we didn't have time for it.
No.
I know sometimes we complain that we have scripts that have more ideas than time. This story has more time than ideas. And it really could have used some more ideas, but that's the modern TV viewer in me talking.
Sure.
And when I say modern, I mean stuff that's probably 30 years old.
Well, one bit of dialogue that I thought was really interesting, when they're trying to convince Dr. Christian that he's got to perform this operation, Perry's got him at gunpoint. He's like, you can teach me how to operate. That's funny. Maybe you can even teach me how to cut. And Dr. Christian's like, you need treatment as badly as your brother. I'm like, oh, snap. Did he just in 1957 tell him, bro, go to counseling?
Yeah.
He sure did.
Yeah, I caught that. It's like, oh, we're acknowledging that there's a mental health system and that this guy just fell through it.
Mm-hmm. How about that?
Because Bush seemed like the youngest brother, right?
Bush, I think that is the implication. That is what I inferred from some of the dialogue.
If he was in Korea, if he was serving in Korea, where were Perry and Quinn?
Yeah, good question. Did they also serve? That's not specified.
Yeah, and so you could go into a whole thing about, returning veterans not having access to mental health. Mm-hmm. Korea may not have been Vietnam, but it was still not good. So maybe Gene did get some more licks in than I'm really giving him credit for. Although in this case, it's really, we're 3 years into his writing career. How much can he really do to buck the system and work his messages into the mix?
Right. What do you think, Earl?
I have so many thoughts. Some of them may be relevant. Let's start with this one. The message of this show, and this is often the case with the old Ziv television shows, it's super simple. Be a good person. You took an oath, uphold your oath. This seems so easy. And yet it seems so quaint because here we are in 2025, better part of a century later, and you need only turn on the news to see people breaking their oaths left and right. Not a fan. It's an even bigger shock to contemplate whether or not this show depicts the medical profession in any way that's remotely accurate, even for its time, because it just looks like this guy's just hailing a doctor on the sidewalk like he's a cab. Hey! And into the doctor's office they go right that minute. That feels more like science fiction than anything Gene's ever going to write.
I just thought it was fascinating that the brothers had like, oh, you think we just pulled some doctor off the street? No. We chose you. I'm like, what kind of rep does this guy have? Like, how did you know where to find him? How big is this town? Even to where they knew that, oh, this is the guy that we really need because our brother just got shot. Oh, well, we definitely need to go get Dr. Christian. I'm like,
yeah, I had a hard time getting a fix on where this happens. I don't think it's Mr. District Attorney. I mean, they show you the LA Hall of Justice building in the opening credits. Okay. I don't think we're in LA here because this place seems very small town. I'm not even sure we're in California for this one. Maybe there's 3 doctors, which makes their plan even worse. Makes the Baker Brothers plan even worse. Because eventually you're going to run out of doctors in this town. But this guy's on TV every week. He does have that going for him. That's how they know him. And apparently he is performing surgery even though he's a general practitioner. He is performing surgery on an alarmingly regular basis. Perhaps, again, pointing to small town.
You know, as you mentioned at the top of the show, this is a spinoff from the popular radio drama. And then there's also like some movies and stuff for Dr. Christian, for his father.
Right.
Because this is supposed to be the son of that Dr.
Yes.
Christian. In the 1939 film Meet Dr. Christian, a pleasant down-home entry which casts Herschel as the title doctor in the mythical town of Rivers End, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to assume maybe that this is in that area or somewhere nearby, perhaps?
Could be. Interesting bit of trivia that I did not include in the actual trivia for this show. Mr. Herschel did show up in 2 episodes of this show as elder Dr. Christian. So they are actually trying to do some Dr. Christian canon, I suppose. Obviously trying to keep things somewhat consistent by having the actor from the movies. For the record, I Led 3 Lives and Mr. District Attorney also were based on radio programs before they were on TV. So Ziv had a habit. Ziv also started out as a radio concern. And so in many of these cases, they already had the rights. So again, any of you thinking that we are just going to stick to existing IP that we already own, you're thinking that's a 21st century thing only? Oh no. It is a very old standard operating procedure for Hollywood. But let's talk about operating procedures.
Yeah, operating procedures.
Ziv's experience with Gene, who they originally hired to advise on dramatic depictions of police procedure. And true story, while he was checking one of their scripts, he mentioned to one of the producers, I could write something better than this. And all of a sudden, writing career happens.
Amazing how that works,
yeah.
Right?
This ends up really not being much of a medical drama, because from the moment Nurse Betty calls the cops, it feels like this is trying to turn into a cop show. And you just hear the gearbox stripping between medical show and cop show until the end credits roll. Especially with the cops in their schnazzy hats popping up in the windows like they're playing a game of whack-a-mole. This is so hilarious. I'm sorry, I can't let it go. Without more of an ethical dilemma, there's really not much of a message. It's just another half-hour of TV from the Zig Sausage Factory, really. It is useful, however, because the contrast reminds us how much more interesting Gene's storytelling is going to become from here on out, compared to these early days of book every gig you can, don't miss delivery date, get it written, cash the check, and move on.
Right.
And make it good was kind of an option. But it's an option that seemed like Gene sprang for more often than not. There were exceptions, but here he is still a novice TV writer just trying to crank out good work. It just feels weird because it's not much of a medical show. It's like it's trying to swing into being a cop show as soon as it can get away with it.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that he is putting in like the little sprinkles of what we would expect from Gene. Like, hey, this guy maybe didn't have the opportunities available to him because of his class or station or upbringing. Let's try to give him a hand up out of this. Yeah, he needs to serve his time, but let's try to help him make better choices when he gets out. Is that same kind of opportunity going to be offered to his brothers? I don't know. But the idea that, hey, you could be good at something that actually helps people rather than, pulling off a robbery or whatever they were trying to do.
One thing I did find kind of refreshing about this compared to Mr. District Attorney or Highway Patrol, there was no gunplay. I mean, guns were drawn. They were clearly a threat. Not one was fired. Could be that this show just wasn't budgeted for that because they were saving it for the actual police dramas. Seemed like the most expensive thing happening here was scenes of cars being driven. Really nice classic cars. I will give them that.
Right.
That is one good thing to spot in these old Ziv shows. But it's an undemanding piece of TV with maybe just a hint that Gene's trying to slip in something about grace and mercy. And that does seem very on brand for Gene, so I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, otherwise, nothing terribly outstanding, but that did stand out to me just a little bit as a kind of a hallmark of some of Gene's writing, because we see some of that in Half Gun Will Travel. We see some of that in Jefferson Drum. Some of these other earlier pieces that he did, that is a common recurrence. So that is something in an otherwise kind of boilerplate sort of script.
Yeah, I don't know how much room these Ziv shows really gave outside writers to individualize their work. Because you figure it's going to go through the hands of a story editor or a producer, and it's going to get mashed into kind of the same shape on the assembly line. But it feels like maybe Gene did get as much of a lick in here as he was going to be allowed to, and that's good. Because I don't think there's a bad time to talk about grace and mercy. Special thanks to the Roddenberry Repertory Players. Our cast this week featured Kevin Ibbotson as Dr. Mark Christian, David Takechi as Perry Baker, and Brian Clayton as Bush Baker. Genealogy is meant to be entertaining and informative, but it's also just the beginning of an ongoing conversation about the works of Gene Roddenberry. Drop us a line at missionlog@roddenberry.com and join us on Facebook at missionlogpod. And please remember, your comments could be used on future installments of Genealogy. If you have any material that might be of interest to us that isn't already in the Roddenberry archive, drop us a line at missionlog@roddenberry.com. Our website is missionlogpodcast.com, and Mission Log Genealogy is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment.
On the next Genealogy, reopening the casebook of Mr. District Attorney. Special thanks to consulting producers Matt Esposito, Homer Frizzell, Rand Hurl, Tom Kozak, Julie Miller, Mike Richards, Mike Schabel, Paul Shadwell, and David Takechi.
We'll be back next week with more of your favorite programs. This concludes our broadcast day.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.